Hey, my friends, it's Friday again. It was like Friday 7 days ago. Can you believe how time flies? Hey, I'm back for another day of building wins. I've been building wins all week. It's been awesome at Source One Marketing, my rep agency, and just lots of good stuff, sampling a lot of customers and great things going on. And my brother, my pal, my buddy, and producer director, Wes Wyatt at weswyatt.com has, and I have been doing some good stuff, some good planning for a lot of future things you guys are going to love. Y'all are going to love what's coming the balance of the year next year. So we're going to not talk a whole lot more and get right to my friend, my buddy today, Brett Thorne. Brett is somebody that we'd met virtually originally and finally had a chance to meet up in Orlando a few months ago. We'll talk about that and how engagement fits into this whole world of what we do and everything else. But before we go, even to that, I got to shout out Barry Brocksterman beat Kirsten today, #1 on. Well done, Barry. Anyways, we'll be right back. Don't go away. My man, how are you, buddy?
Randy, I am here. Like you said, it's Friday. Always a pleasure to see you again. And I want to thank you for having me. This truly is an honor to be on this side.
Well, that's good because you're typically on that side, right?
That's right. Be gentle with me. I'm not used to being on this side. I'm usually the one asking the question.
Oh, that's right. I'm going to fire him at you, buddy. It's just going to be like getting punched in a. It's like it's going to be like Mike Tyson on the airplane a while back.
Yeah, and I probably deserve it, knowing how my guests feel.
I'm sure you probably do. But thank you for being on. I appreciate it. We've got Barry on already, and our mutual friend Kirsten from LBM Advantage, who. It's an interesting, but we'll get to that in a minute because I don't want to skip by the chance for you to introduce yourself. You know, obviously you're Brett, excuse me, the lumberjack Thorne, and but who is Brett? Just tell who are you? What are you doing? What's going on besides being just a world-class cool guy?
Well, that's maybe a bit of an overstatement, but I'm going to run with it. I'm going to give you probably about 20 minutes to stop that, Randy. So who I am, I am one of the lucky ones that actually got to grow up in this fantastic industry. Both my parents are involved. We're in the retail side. They grew up working in the wholesale side, or I grew up when they were working in the wholesale side, running around warehouses, at sawdust in the veins. Been doing this on and off my entire life. Such a fabulous industry. We represent 3 retail locations in North Missouri. I'm a part of a lot of different associations like the Mid-American Lumbermen's Association, which is associated with the Northwestern Lumber Association. Been just entrenched in the industry for years and years, and I love it. It's such a fantastic industry. A couple of years ago, started a podcast called Building the Future Podcast. Shameless plug there for me.
There you go.
But just
plug along.
Just a great opportunity.
There it is. Look at that. Wes Wyatt is on his A game today, is he not?
He is.
But, well, that's awesome. So, as we get started, an interesting thing that always pops into my head, and with Kirsten, our mutual friend, being on here.
She's a little matchmaker, isn't she?
She is. She is, because that was what I was going to point out, is we've both been in this industry a long, long time, and we've both known Kirsten a long, long time, and she's the one that got you and I in touch with each other originally. And we had done it virtually, and a couple of LinkedIn conversations back and forth and whatever else we may have done. And then we finally met up at the LBM Advantage show back in, I don't know, was that March or February, March, whenever that was up in Orlando, and got to hang out and spend some time together. And my point of all that is, and I did a post earlier this week, and I know you are an engager, and it's so important to be engaged because without being an engager, neither one of us would have probably met, become buds, become pals, and start doing this sort of stuff together, right?
Absolutely. And it's such a valuable thing, and especially for this industry. I love this industry for one of the primary reasons is the people and the fact that it's a handshake industry. So, to really do well in this industry, not that you can't, but it is so vital in this industry, to engage with people. This is a people industry.
Right.
So, that engagement is so critical. And because of people like Kirsten that, made the introduction to say, hey, you know what? You guys are both doing great things, great people. And I'm kind of surprised our paths had never crossed before that.
Yep.
But I'm so glad that she did. And I love the introductions. I love meeting people. I'm a bit of a social juggernaut to begin with. So, you know what? To be able to do this throughout the industry is just phenomenal. And it's a great industry to do it in.
It is. It is. And like you said, the one beauty about this industry is being a people industry. If you're a people person, you network, you talk to people, you get to know people, you make introductions as Kirsten did with us, like I'm going to do. Great segue, not the bike thing. With my friend Barry Brockstrom, and he popped on. He was number one today, and Barry is with MWI Components, a company that I represent also, and you two need to know each other. And I told Barry in a comment yesterday that you're a guy he needs to know, and you're the kind of guy, and that's the beauty about this industry. We all want to sell stuff, right? Believe me, I want to sell stuff, but there's certain people you run across the industry that you just want to know and be friends with, whether we ever do any business or not. Right? It's almost second. Not I don't want to say it's secondary, but it is secondary, right?
Absolutely. And that people industry, everybody's so willing to help each other. I mean, even when I launched launched my Building the Future podcast, Bradley Hartman, a little shout out to him, the Behind Your Back podcast. And he'd been doing it a little bit before me. I reached out to him and I just told him, said, here's what I'm doing. I don't want you to feel threatened. I don't want to try to be hiding anything. I want to do a podcast myself. I love what you're doing. I love the industry. I want a chance to give back. I want a chance to grow and build. And he was open book, man. He's like, okay, here's what you need. Here's what you should be doing. And to have that kind of, friendship and just people willing to help throughout our industry, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
It is. It is. Quick shout out, Kellen Ann. Hey, hey. Is how do you say hey, hey in Georgian, Kellen? Because now that you're in Georgia instead of California, is that a hey all, hey all? I don't know how you say that. But you're speaking of that, Kellen and Wes and I have another friend in a mastermind group we belong to. I'm really going off subject here, but I do that. It's my show. So anyway, you're a Southerner. I guess you'd be considered a Southerner, right?
We like to term ourselves as Midwest.
Midwest, okay.
Not quite in the Smile States. We're just a little bit above that.
Okay. Hey, y'all. Okay, that works. So I did learn from a mutual friend of ours, Michelle, that the yaw, there we are. There's Big Wes in me and Michelle that I'm talking about. There's 5 of us people that met up for a little mastermind, Megamind's the name of our group, get together in Cincinnati a year and a half ago. The interesting thing with that picture, Brett, is none of us had ever met each other. Maybe Michelle and I don't know if anybody met each other before. It was a kind of a first time meetup, even though we'd known each other for like a year and a half virtually, right? But Michelle taught me that it's yaw if it's 1 or 2. If it's more than 2, I think is the number, it becomes all yaw. And so since I spend half or more than half, but a good share of my time in Florida, which is really not a southern state, we're just down here somewhere. I've been practicing the yaw and trying to get that right. So, anyways, hey yaw, I got it.
So has anybody corrected you on it? Anybody set you right or wrong?
No, because now I'm sure if I went into Louisville or Atlanta or someplace, they'd probably correct me on a lot of things. But down here, there is no Florida dialect. I mean, nobody's from Florida.
Yeah, they're all from somewhere else.
I think there's originally one person. That was it. That's Ponce de Leon or whoever that was. I mean, that's it. I think since those days.
Maybe they named the street after him or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was Joe Florida or something. I don't know. But but we do get a lot of Brits and a lot of Germans. So I hear a lot of dialects, and of course Hispanic or Espanol. I mean, a lot of that, which I have uno. That's my limit. In the Casablancas, you can only say one White House so often. And
uno mas cerveza. That's all you need to know, Randy, right there.
Yeah, you tell me what that is because I don't know.
One more beer, buddy. One more beer.
Perfect. I'm gonna write. You send me that one. I need to work on that one. That's all I need to know. But so when did how old is Thorne Lumber? When did you get started so your mom and dad obviously in the wholesale side, did they start the business?
So they were in the wholesale side with Mid-Am Building Supply, a regional supplier here, and they bought out an existing retail location in North Missouri. Chillicothe, it's where I'm born and raised. Both my parents are from here, or in the general area, grew up here. And the local retailer there, which they had serviced from the wholesale side, he decided, as he got older, he wanted to sell it, and they had actually worked out a deal. So late 80s, 1988 is kind of when they opened their operation. And, back in those days, Missouri didn't have child labor laws. So again, here I will get plugged in, been in the business since day one.
Yes, there you go. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I think you list yourself as, besides just big shot, but chief operations officer or something like that, or just
head firefighter. Yeah.
Yeah. King Poobah, the lumberjack himself, whatever. But so you guys tell us a little bit about Thorne Lumber. What are you guys into? Typical lumberyard that we would think of as a lumberyard, or?
Yeah, we're all of our locations. We're in small rural communities. I mean, North Missouri, a lot of ag ground, a lot of farm stuff. Rural communities anywhere from 3,000 to 10,000. Mm-hmm. And, we service a pretty good broad stroke of customers, a lot of homeowners, a lot of farm supply. We don't do farm supply, but, a lot of your farmers looking for pole barns and things like that. But I would say the core of our business across all three stores, we're about 70% professional. And I say professional, is that somebody doing it for a paycheck or for somebody else? It may be a guy that's doing it part-time, doing jobs on the side. Maybe he's a firefighter and he picks up, some storm door installs or some window replacements and things like that. And then obviously the professional contractors as well. A lot of residential products, every once in a while we'll get into a project, maybe a little commercial or a little bit of multi-family kind of stuff. But, for the most part, we service our rural communities. Core of our business is in probably about a 30 to 40 mile radius.
Okay. And how far are your stores apart from each other?
The furthest is just over an hour between the two.
Okay. So you can get out and about in a day's time and visit them all if you want to.
Absolutely. And I travel around to all of our locations. Get a lot of windshield time. And actually, that's kind of where the podcast idea came from. And I had migrated to podcast years ago just because, when you're on the road all the time, you're looking for something. And it's such a great avenue to get anything you want, rifled information. You can get very specific, whether it's genres, topics, anything. And such a great resource.
Oh, it is. And, I can't think of the last time. Well, okay, you might get an occasional 10 minutes, but I never listen to music in my car, ever. I'm always plugging in something. I'm always listening to, and now since you and I've met, your podcasts, or a bunch of other people that I know, I've been blessed since I've been doing this kind of thing to have grown to know a lot of people that do this kind of stuff out of the industry. I try to gear this show towards the industry, but I love to follow people that are out of our industry because I think sometimes you learn more because we all kind of got the same stories, right? And it may be a little different and a little different slant, but it's the same story. So I spend most of my time, doing that. The only time I ever listen to music, Brett, is maybe I turn on a little 1970s rock or a little that's dating me a little bit, but and I was a teenager in the 70s. But anyways, or a little jazz, maybe a Cabernet sitting outside and listening to a little music and planning the next day and all that. But so I agree with you. I love listening to podcasts and video shows, whatever the case may be. So apparently this is called a vodcast with a V, according to Wes. He turned me on to that originally, and since Wes said
news to me, but I'm kind of in the channels here. I should know this. So
yeah, well, he's sitting back there, and he's got the ability to shut me off at any point. So I'm gonna give him a plug for that.
be nice to him a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you got to be. We had, and I know I'm getting, I say dangerously close, but close to.
There we go. There's the image from Orlando.
Look at that, man.
I had the winter cut going at that point.
Yeah, you did have the winter cut.
Yeah,
you had the winter cut, and I had the Florida Cabana shirt, as I call it, on that. My wife Dixie, the Dixie chick, who also runs my office, she saw that picture, And she said, "Hey, I just saw your picture you posted." And I said, "Oh yeah." She says, "Yeah, you guys look good. Who's your buddy?" And I told her, and she says, "Take that shirt off. What are you wearing that shirt for?" I said, "Like right now, like another picture?" Because I mean, I attempt to keep myself in reasonable shape, but I don't think that's something anybody wants to see. She said, "No, just why would you wear an untucked Cabana shirt?" I said, "We're in Orlando.
Exactly.
Come on." I
Hmm.
said, so I hung up on her because I was hurt. I had my little feeling hurt. I realized then, Brett, that I do have a tiny little feeling. It's real small.
And every once in a while, it pokes its little head out,
It just
huh?
pokes his little head out, just slap, just like that. And there I was thinking I was looking, standing next to the lumberjack himself, looking all spiff and Florida and Cabana looking, and apparently not.
No, no,
And
I'll tell you what, and I can remember that because I was jealous. I was trying to, obviously put on good presentation. They're on work stuff, and I'm like, yep, yep, I'm digging it right now. I'm a little jealous. I was looking at you, and I was thinking cocktails by the pool. That's what that was screaming to me.
exactly, because that's where we're at, right? That's the whole image you're trying to portray. But so tell me, and I said this, and at some point I'm going to mean it and just stop doing it, but getting dangerously close to stopping to talk about that dreaded C word that we've been living under the last couple of years, COVID, right? Because I've had it, and forget all my opinions on it. It doesn't matter. It was what it was, and we went through what we went through. But what did Thorne Lumber and what did the lumberjack learn that you can take forward? Because I think we all learned something, right? And
Oh yeah.
what did you learn some adaptions? Did you learn different ways to do them? What did you come out of this? Because I think we all came out better. If you didn't, I think you should have, right?
Oh, absolutely. Me personally, what I learned from that is, you got to be ready for anything. Head on a swivel. Anything can come at you at any time. You've got to be ready. You got to be prepared to make plans, sometimes on the fly, and you got to learn to take action. And you got to be quick to say, okay, if that plan doesn't work, you know what? Let's revise. Let's come up with something new. You know what? Nimble, quick, head on a swivel, looking for anything. As an industry, I think, there's a lot of silver linings. I'm a bit of an optimist. I mean, obviously, you know that. I mean,
Yep.
We're so high spirited people and such, goers anyways. But, looking at the silver linings of this, a couple things really came out of that. I think it really forced our industry into the 21st century when it comes to technology. I mean, we were always a little bit behind. Nobody ever knew us. And it's not like we're out there on the tip of the sword by any means, but we're a heck of a lot further ahead than we were prior to the pandemic. And then the other thing, a little bit more outside of the industry, but really had a big effect on our industry, is it really revitalized the value of the home to everybody. I mean, because now the home became so much more for so many people. It became the classroom, it became the office, it became their gymnasium. I mean, everything was done in the home, and people really started to again, remember the value of the home and what it meant. And I think that really did, not just for our industry, but just for everybody. It put families back together. I mean, it really said, hey, you know what? This is where you build your family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I love about the pandemic. Granted, I don't want to go through it again, but you know what? Let's be positive here.
Right. Well, you have to. And I think that's the point. You said it very well. It was what it was, and but you had to come out of it with a positive. Yeah, look at it as a positive you can. It's not great that we're shut down and sitting at home, can't travel, can't do certain things, can't go get lunch when we want, whatever the case may be. But boy, we learned a lot. And one of the things you hit on was adapting. And I know for myself, I learned to adapt. I made a lot of adaptations. I mean, pre-pandemic, I don't know if I'd be doing a show like this. I don't know if I'd be guesting on people's shows. I don't know if I'd be doing the 50 crazy posts a day on social media and doing virtual Zooms and videos to customers and stuff. I'd have probably just kept doing the old style Road Warrior Randy stuff, right? Just kept doing what I did. But so it's not just
Road Warrior Randy. I was gonna say, I like that. You need to put that on a business card.
Yes. Well, Wes keeps it.
Road Warrior Randy.
Yeah, right. Wes keeps it everywhere. And you know what? When we have shows, Wes, you know what it is? it's hashtag Showtime, Randy, because we're at a show. Why not? But it's but what I more than importantly than to me than learning how to do the stuff that I do now that I didn't do or know how to do or even think about doing 2 years ago was that I've become an adapter. Forget the stuff I've adapted to already and learned. Like you just said, head on a swivel. We don't want crap to come our way, but if it does, it's like, all right, is that fine? Okay, that's the deal. And I think that is
What's the old
playing
saying? Ask not for an easy life, but ask for the skills to make it through life with anything that's thrown your way.
exactly. Is that a lumberjackism?
No, I
Oh, I
stole
think.
that, and I'm sure I
Oh,
butchered it too. So
okay, because well, you butchered it
maybe it
so
was
bad. I
Bruce
thought it was.
Lee or something. Yeah,
I,
yeah. Somebody
I say you
well
butchered
beyond
this.
my capabilities.
Well, you butchered it so bad. I thought it was yours. Just kidding.
There we go.
That's got to be
That's
a Bretism.
trademarked Ricky Bobby Inc.
Yeah, yeah. Ain't nobody else out there going to say that. What was that crap?
Yeah. Oh my God. Who is this guy?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Wes, get that button ready. Anyway, no, but no, you're right though. It's really it's taught us a lot, and Wes and I. We talk about that all the time about the changes and being ready for change and not even, I mean, almost semi looking forward to them. I mean, if it is, it is. Just bring it on. I'm ready. Whatever you got, we'll handle it. And I think we had the whole pandemic thing, and then got blasted right into the supply chain disaster of the last 2 years, right? Kind of hand in hand, and kind of a 1-2 punch for a while. I think our industry did pretty darn good getting through it based on some pretty tough stuff for a while. Then we're still dealing with. But what are you seeing with the supply chain issue from your end? And maybe secondary backup question to that is, do you feel like, I feel like that all of us in every aspect of that supply chain, if you will, have got much better at managing it than we were at the start, right? I mean, at the start we were just going, I don't know when you're going to get it. I have no clue. Now we're better at managing it, at least together as partners, right? What's your take on all
Absolutely.
that?
No, I agree 100%. That's another one of those things that this pandemic has kind of, I would say, educate our industry on. It's made us better planners, strategic planners. Before you could get windows in 10 days. Now you're lucky to get them in 10 weeks.
Right.
So now we've just got to be a little more advanced. And the other thing too is communication. So important with all this. Knowing where things are, relaying the information so that people can plan and can prepare. As far as where the supply chain's at, yeah, it's still in a crisis. I don't see it getting fixed anytime soon, in all honesty. But I mean, again, like you said, not that people are numb to it by any means, but they're better suited to handle it. Now, is it perfect? No, it's gonna be a long time before it's perfect. But people are coping with it, and they're like we talked about. They're adjusting their business. They're adjusting the way they go to the market. They're adjusting how they do things in order to strategically navigate these uncharted waters that we've never really had to deal with.
Right. Yeah, that and for the uncharted waters is for certain. Man, I remember talking to a lot of
Uncharted and empty.
and empty. Yeah, yeah. I posted a picture a while back. I found it maybe not at the start of the supply chain issue, but a couple weeks ago. I thought it was funny. Timing's everything, right? It was I found it and I posted it. It was a picture of basically something a little bit bigger than a rowboat, just big enough for a 20-foot container to be on. And somebody had photoshopped it, obviously, but it's this 20-foot container kind of sitting cockeyed in this little rowboat, and all these guys climbing all over. And I put something out there. Don't worry, folks. I found your container. We're good. But something along that lines. But 8 months ago, 12 months ago, 14 months ago, that might have not have been too humorous to anybody, right? Because it was a little close to home. Like, yeah, you think that's funny, Randy?
Too soon.
I still don't.
Too soon.
I don't. Yes. But so, how is business in your part of the world, in your part of the country? Has it been strong throughout the whole pandemic?
It really has. And I remember when the pandemic first rolled out. It was about mid-March when it started hitting the news and kind of everything that was going on. And there, of course, as I said, I'm kind of a lifer, so I remember the the 07s, the 08s, the 09s, the 2010s. And about that first 2 weeks, the phones just stopped ringing. And I thought, oh shit, here we go again. And then all of a sudden the floodgates just opened. And it's just been just nonstop ever since then. Now, again, everybody is coping better. Everybody is now accustomed to those kinds of things. And, there's still the things. I mean, there's still a lot of projects going on. There's still a lot of delayed lead times. There's still a lot of hiccups and everything, but everybody is suited with them. But you know what? Business has been good. Our industry has been very blessed throughout this whole crisis and everything that's happened, because there's a lot of industries out there, hospitality, travel, they just got destroyed during this. And I feel for those, and I hope they all come back and they all rebound. But boy, I tell you what, talking about the Great Recession, just a little over a decade ago, man, I don't know what would have happened if we would have gone through another one of those.
Oh man, yeah, we don't ever want to see that again. So, is it still? Are you? What's your prognosis for the balance of 2022 and on into 23? Is it still strong right now? You feel a slowdown a little? Do you feel still pretty strong?
I think the next probably, I don't know, 3 months is really going to tell a lot. Let's be honest, we are on a high, and we've been on this high for quite a while, with all the projects that are going on, with pricing, everything that's happening. It can't last forever. At some point, there is going to be a correction. The market is going to cool. Now, I don't foresee a crash by any means, short of some kind of other disaster or something. But I think that our market is going to cool a little bit, is going to correct a little bit. I mean, you look at the high levels, at the levers the governments are pulling to, and they've said they want to slow the economy a little bit because of inflation and everything else that's going on. So we've got to be prepared and be ready, head on a swivel, quick to move, quick to react, knowing that at some point it is going to correct and cool. 3 months ago, I would have said it probably won't be till next year. Now, kind of looking at it, it may be as early as Q4 this year. I don't know, but just I am prepared. And I tell people, we got to be ready. At some point, the market's going to correct a little bit. Now, whether that's the pricing and all of a sudden now things are coming, your revenue dollars aren't as big as they were for the last 18 months because prices have stabilized, or maybe it's just the projects aren't going to be going. You hear people maybe starting to put some projects on hold that we're going to start, in 3 months because they're with the interest rates and everything going up and inflation. Some people are maybe getting a little nervous. So again, I think the next couple months is really going to tell how soon this thing is going to turn.
Right. Yep. And I think you're pretty dead nuts on there. There has to be a correction. We don't necessarily want it, or we want things to be at this skyrocketing space shuttle launch trajectory, right? But that's not constant. You can't keep that. You can't keep that. So the hope is that it won't be massive. And I don't feel that it'll be massive, like you said. I just think it'll be a little bit of a correction. And the reality is, from the whole supply chain thing, without that, it's hard to get back in any kind of a reasonable inventory position. You take from guys, as you know, I rep manufacturers, and many of the problems that we've had is if you already can't get product or you can't make product fast enough, and the orders, not only do they not slow down, but they speed up, all you do is get further and further behind every day. And there's no way to ever catch up, no matter what you do. And and so I think
the crazy thing is everybody's making great money and has for the last 12 months. Think about how much they'd be making if they had everything available to them.
Oh man, yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it's so I suppose you guys are constantly playing that battle with specifically lumber, probably trying to play that game. When do I buy? When do I not buy? I mean, that's you can probably make or break just in the lumber buying room, right?
Absolutely. And, with our core business being, that professional, the guy doing it for a paycheck, we obviously do a lot of residential construction, lots of sticks and sheets, a lot of framing materials. Obviously, we're selling the special packages to go with it, but, let's face it, sticks and sheets is a big part of our business. So we've got to have a pulse of the market at all times.
Yep. Makes sense. So as we talked about, and I really want to get into this before we blast through the time, We talked about your podcast, and so you got started, and you've been doing that what about 2 years now, Brett?
Yeah, just over 2 years. I kind of started planning about 2019. I decided to wait till January of 2020 to start. Obviously, not knowing there was a global pandemic coming down the pipe. Because boy, when that hit, and I had everything going on with work, and still trying to get this thing launched and off the ground and going. But yeah, so just over 2 years now.
Perfect. I can tell you, it's a great show. I've been trying to catch up on a bunch of them. Uh, Tell us a little bit about the goal behind the podcast and the type of guests you have, what you like to talk about. What are people going to get? Why should people tune in to this podcast?
Absolutely. So, kind of to reiterate, just like I said, I think podcasts are such a great vehicle for information. You can find out so much, such a valuable resource. And so that's kind of why, like I said, I had migrated them to them personally prior to that. Some was for professional development, just learning about things. Some was for just hobby stuff. I do a lot of
Hmm.
outdoor activities. I would tune into a lot of those. And I just thought, this is such a great opportunity to share information. And again, this was back in 2019, early 2020, when our industry was still back in the dark ages, back before we got to the
Right.
21st century. So I thought, hey, this might be a great opportunity to kind of get our industry out there, to bring us into some technology, to show that there's some cool things about our industry. You know what? Especially recruiting, that's a whole different thing. And bringing young people into this industry is a whole nother topic. And we probably don't have nearly enough time or days to discuss that. But I thought, what, let's show some things that we're doing. And I wanted, for me, it was a great chance to hopefully give back. My whole purpose was to talk about the industry, what's going on. Let's talk about pain points. Let's get some of the specialists on there, some of the people. So I've had some great guests. And going back to how wonderful and amazing our industry is, people are so willing to help. And I very rarely do people not want to come on the show. And if they don't, it's usually because it's time constraints, or maybe they just don't like talking on air. But for the most part, everybody's so willing to help. And it's been such a great opportunity. And for me, selfishly, I probably get more out of it than anybody. And I learned so much, and it's helped me strengthen my roots in the industry. Again, social juggernaut. So there I am, it helps me connect with people. And I just thought, hey, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it publicly. So hopefully others can learn just like I do.
Yeah.
That's the entire purpose.
Beautiful. Well, and you're on. I'm trying to remember because I've been going back trying to pick up, past shows. Are you on a weekly basis, a couple times a week? Tell us when we can find you.
I try to roll out 1 to 2 a month.
Okay.
It's a time commitment, and that's not an
Hmm.
excuse. It is well worth the time. I just try to make sure that I'm putting out good, valuable content and quality product. Yeah, some of them are just it's some good, fun conversations,
Hmm.
but truly, I'm just saying trying to help advance the industry. Either those that are industry learn a little bit more, grow a little bit, or maybe those that aren't in the street, give them some information to entice them, to let them know kind of what we do and what we're about. I mean, that's one of the struggles that we have as an industry is going to be recruiting people, bringing new people in. And I mean, we've got to scream it from the rooftops that we're building and telling people how great and how many opportunities there are in this industry.
Oh, you're exactly right, and that's interesting. I was at, I think it's 2 weeks now already. I was up in Dayton, Ohio, at the Metal Roofing Summit, and it was a it was a an industry. It was a that it was or as a summit that was involved in the metal, which I am very strongly, but this was slightly out of my wheelhouse as far as this was mostly for installed sales roofing companies. The they have the marketing teams and the sales forces, and they go out and sell metal roofings, over a broad market. But because of my interest and the people that was putting it on, I do sell some product for them, Isaiah Industries. So they are the ones that sponsored it. But the point of all that is I showed up to this thing, learned 100% more than I thought I ever would. Number one, listen to these speakers that are at the fringe, and I don't mean they're at the fringe, I'm probably at the fringe, but of what they do, but I understood what they do, and I could take lessons from every one of these speakers and bring it back to what I do in the more wholesale manufacturing related spectrum. But the funny thing there is I met several people that I didn't know going in that are pretty knowledgeable and very great speakers into that market. And I reached out to 3 of them after that show about being on my show, thinking they're going to go, yeah, you're in the manufacturing world. We're in the whole different aspect. Yes, yes, and yes, just like that. Would you like to be on? Absolutely. So you're right. People want to help. People want to be out there, and maybe speak to this one as kind of the last thing, unless there's something else, because you just hit on it, and we talked about this at the show. You got to go where the people live, and all these young people coming up, they live on this. They live on social media. They live on podcasts. They live on virtual. And if we don't go where they are, they're going to go someplace else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so even with recruiting, I'm sure, like you said, with recruiting people, you're going to have to recruit where these people live, so to speak, as opposed to the old-fashioned way, whatever that was, the old way of doing it, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Let's face it. I mean, people, yeah, and you can say this for every generation. You know what? They want things that are new. They want to try new things, especially when people are younger. And I don't care if it's younger people now or younger people 20, 40, 50 years ago. They want to explore new things. They don't necessarily want historic stuff. I mean, yeah, there's antique collectors. There's nothing wrong with that. But for most people, they want new, they want shiny, they want the latest and greatest. And if we're going to encourage people, the younger generations, and this will be from now till the end of time, probably,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have to, like you said, we're going to have to connect with them and communicate with them where they want to communicate. I mean, that's where they want to go. Those are the things that they want to go after. I mean, why would somebody that's, starting their professional career in their 20s, want to come to an industry that is not using computers, not using
Right.
smartphones? I mean, look at what the smartphone's done for us. Can you imagine, not using that? Say, oh, well, fax. I mean, why would they? They wouldn't even know how to use a fax, I'm sure, let alone want to learn.
That's funny.
So yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just saying that's my soapbox. I don't want to drag this. Obviously, I'm passionate about it, and I think it's such a critical thing. And I think that's something our industry is getting better at. But we need to keep the foot on the gas of that and make sure this is. And I've said it so many times. This is such a great industry. This is the sexy industry. I mean, you look at what we do for a living. You look at the structures we build. You look at all the opportunities there are, the multiple channels there are. And there's so much we have to offer. We've just got to communicate that. We've got to make sure that those coming in know that.
Exactly. Beautiful. Awesome. Well, my friend, you've gave me just about 40 minutes of your time already, which I appreciate. Any closing thoughts you'd like to make before you go back and take a nap for the rest of the afternoon?
I don't think I can top that, what I just said, Randy.
that
I should have said, why did you tell me? I would have saved that
I know you should
lecture, that speech I just gave.
Well, you can say it again, and we'll record it and see if you did it word for word.
Yeah.
No, that was awesome. So okay. Continuing the positive Friday watching Building Wins Live. Thank you, Randy and experts.
Does that say building wings?
It says wings. Oh, I think it's close. That's a typological.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, that's okay. We can build wings.
Wings. So hey, wings and beer. It is Friday. There you go. There's my closing thoughts. Yeah. Wings and beer on Friday.
There you go. I can stand some of those right now. Oh, well, awesome. Well, Brett, thank you. I appreciate you being on, my man.
Thank you, Randy. The pleasure's all been on this side of the microphone.
No. We're going to go 50-50, maybe 51-49, okay? All right. Well, listen, thank you. Appreciate it. If you want to jump off, we'll catch you in just a minute, and I'll be right back with you, and I'm going to just tell everybody who's coming next week. If I'm still alive, we're going to do another one. So there we got it, my friend. That was my friend, my pal, my buddy, Brett the Lumberjack Thorne. I want to have a name like that. I'm going to come up with one. I can't stick lumberjack. But anyway, so next week we're going to come back, do another Building Wins together, and staying in the industry with Joe Borick. Joe is the VP of Novaflex, which there's a big longer name for them, but everybody know the name Novaflex, which is a caulking sealant line that I'm involved with through one of my manufacturers. We distribute the product, and Joe's an industry expert, and we're going to talk about the industry in general, caulk specifically, the whole, again, supply chain and what's going on in that part of the world. And I've known Joe for years. He's a great guy. You're going to enjoy a good conversation next week. So until then, remember to make this your best day ever. Until tomorrow, and live it, love it, and own it. Cheers, my friends.